Still with the rope relic that continues to attack the commander, the other relics are getting anxious and worried about their situation that will soon be destroyed because they cannot educate the rope relic properly. The relic inside Van Gogh does not know what they should do now. Meanwhile, the commander is still being disturbed by the rope relic, which makes him lose focus. And with anger, he attacked the rope relic using his aura. The rope relic screamed in pain from receiving the aura from the commander. Seo Joo-Heon tried to call the rope relic back, but the crow did not suggest it and told Seo Joo-Heon to run away while he could still protect Seo Joo-Heon with his power. But Seo Joo-Heon still insisted on taking the rope relic so that later he could be repaired. Slowly, a light appeared from inside the rope relic, and because of his strong desire, his damaged body repaired itself. And shortly after that, a golden yellow light appeared and made the rope relic evolve for the second time, making it in tier S. The evolution of the rope relic made all the relics and Seo Joo-Heon who were there surprised to see it. Even the commander was surprised to see a rope relic that could evolve at will. The relics inside Van Gogh became chaotic when he saw that relics could evolve. Even the relic sword there did not think that it was possible for a relic to do. The commander shouted in displeasure because if relics can evolve at will, then there is no meaning to have a hierarchy. The commander was angry at the crow who tried to leak their system. Meanwhile, the crow remained silent as he saw some relics begin to rebel against their superiors. The relics there seemed happy because they knew that they could evolve. The relics began to rebel against the commander and turned to defend Seo Joo-Heon so that they could evolve. But the commander was furious and did not allow the relics to do whatever they wanted. The commander turned his attention back to the rope relic and wanted to attack it. But every attack was avoided and the rope relic was able to bind the commander's body. The crow asked Seo Joo-Heon to leave while he still had the chance to do so, because the rope relic might not last much longer against the commander alone. And sure enough, the rope relic began to break down as he tried to resist the movements of the commander. But Seo Joo-Heon still did not want to just leave the rope relic there to fight alone. Seo Joo-Heon's attention was drawn to a crack in the spear. The crack was caused by the commander being distracted now with the rope relic constantly distracting him. Seo Joo-Heon came up with an idea and a plan that might just work. But the crow had a bad feeling about the idea that Seo Joo-Heon was about to execute, and sure enough, the crow was surprised when he saw Seo Joo-Heon start running back towards the commander. Seo Joo-Heon didn't want to just run away and leave behind all his relics that he had worked so hard to collect. Seo Joo-Heon started by taking the relic sword and Van Gogh. The relic sword was surprised when he saw Seo Joo-Heon, who returned because he did not want his relic to die here. The relic sword was touched by his reason and he promised to listen to Seo Joo-Heon's orders now. Seo Joo-Heon, who heard that, also became happy because the relic sword said it would obey him. Seo Joo-Heon also intended to destroy this tomb with his power, which made the relic sword surprised because he would be used as a bomb. But before the relic sword had time to protest, Seo Joo-Heon had thrown and exploded it to make a hole so that he could escape. After the hole was created, Seo Joo-Heon looked at it happily. But it seemed that the commander, who was still bound by the rope relic, was not happy when he found out that his spear had been destroyed. But Seo Joo-Heon blamed the commander for not focusing on his spear and he told the rope relic to return to him. Afterwards, the rope relic untied itself from the commander and went towards Seo Joo-Heon, quickly leaving the commander behind. Seo Joo-Heon quickly placed his hand on the tomb and began to use his power to repair the tomb. Slowly, the tomb began to be repaired and the commander who saw it could not believe that he was seeing a human being who could do that. After the tomb all closed and trapped the commander in his own tomb, the rope relic managed to escape from the legs of the commander's legs, who tried to catch it. After the rope relic escaped completely and returned to the hands of Seo Joo-Heon, he praised the rope relic that moved quickly and managed to escape from the wall of the tomb that almost closed it. but because of the commander's anger. The wall created by Seo Joo-Heon will not last longer and the protection of the crow will soon run out, which means Seo Joo-Heon will receive back the pain of the poison in this tomb. Seo Joo-Heon also told Van Gogh to take out all the relics, but when Van Gogh refused, Seo Joo-Heon threatened him to make the relic inevitably obey the command of Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon realized that his relic became more obedient to him after what happened to the rope relic. And because the protection from the crow had run out now, Seo Joo-Heon had to take his medicine to survive the pain he received. And after he used the relic shield, Seo Joo-Heon began to choose the weapon he would use from his relic collection. Seo Joo-Heon asked where the relics of the divine dogs had gone. The relics began to realize that they were not with them now, but one of the relics there said that the dogs had run away a while ago. But they can't blame the dogs because if they are caught on the side of Seo Joo-Heon with his high power, then they will be severely punished. Seo Joo-Heon, who found out if the dogs had run away, became angry, and he asked the relics to convey his message that Seo Joo-Heon would destroy them when they met later on. The sound of cracks began to be heard, indicating that the wall made by Seo Joo-Heon would not last much longer, and as soon as the wall opened, Seo Joo-Heon could see a lot of relic monsters in front of him. The terrible monsters were all high-tier relics ordered by the commander to attack Seo Joo-Heon. Seen again, Seo Joo-Heon, who faced the relics alone now. He did not expect that he would be in big trouble like this. Meanwhile, on the other side, we can see Seo-Ah, who is still being chased by a lot of spiders in another tomb. Seo-Ah can only run as she is being chased by a lot of spiders behind her, but as far as she runs, she can't find a way out. Seo-Ah is getting panicked as she sees so many spiders chasing her behind. A spider web was launched towards her and it hit her right on the body, making her trapped and unable to escape now. There were huge spiders surrounding her from all directions. Seo-Ah could only surrender, but suddenly an attack defeated all the spiders that surrounded her. The attack came from Gildal, who came to help her. Seo-Ah, who saw Gildal there, was very happy because finally she could be saved by Gildal. She thought that Gildal had been destroyed by Ch.115, but it seems her guess was wrong. Gildal carried the body of Seo-Ah to leave the tomb through the entrance she used before. Seo-Ah sounded happy when she saw a big hole in the tomb. Seo-Ah realized that this tomb had collapsed by itself, and that meant Ch.115 could not control her power properly now. Seo-Ah also told Gildal to move with her and save Seo Joo-Heon. Meanwhile, in the building where Seo Joo-Heon lived, a tomb appeared and made almost the entire building covered with the tomb made by Ch.115 before. Meanwhile, the situation inside the building is also not much different, where now Seo Joo-Heon issued a code of Hammurabi to ward off all the monsters that tried to approach him. The monster was slowly pushed away by the power of the code of Hammurabi. Seo Joo-Heon, who did not want to waste this opportunity, he jumped up and started slashing the monster with his weapon. Seo Joo-Heon also told his relics to fight properly, but they looked scared when they saw the commander, who was in a winning position, and became hesitant to defend Seo Joo-Heon because they were afraid that they would get punished by the commander. And sure enough, the relics slowly begged the commander for mercy, which made Seo Joo-Heon upset. But while in a state of urgency, he heard Nero talking to him and started helping Seo Joo-Heon with his fire, which managed to burn all the monsters in front of him. Nero looked annoyed at Seo Joo-Heon because he didn't call him when he was fighting like now, because the situation now would be great for Nero to show his strength. Seeing Nero, who was disappointed, Seo Joo-Heon apologized because he was distracted with his dogs who had escaped, and because Nero was on his side now. Seo Joo-Heon asked for his help to defeat the monster. Seeing Nero siding with Seo Joo-Heon made the commander furious because Nero had an important role as the holder of the Majesty's key. Nero then got angry back at the spider commander, who thought that he was the commander of all the relics in existence. Nero didn't even like him since he knew that the spider commander had killed the king just for his own satisfaction, because the king he killed recognized the great artistic talent possessed by Nero. Seo Joo-Heon, who heard the words king's key and execution, was confused because the relics executed their own king. Seo Joo-Heon was convinced that something happened in the past. Nero was still angry at the spider commander who tried to kill humans. Nero then pointed to Seo Joo-Heon and introduced him as a talented writer, and he said that losing people like Seo Joo-Heon would be very detrimental because of the great art that Seo Joo-Heon produced. The spider commander was angry because he didn't care about anything about the art of human writing, and the angry Nero was going to use his power to stop the spider commander. Quickly, the fire flared up, making all the relics their panic seeing the two people who were going to fight. Nero then created the golden palace above the spider commander's tomb. Seo Joo-Heon, who saw the appearance of the building, told his relics to follow him into the golden palace. The relics looked happy when they finally got a shelter. When the door closed, Seo Joo-Heon looked at them and started looking for relics who wanted to fight with him. The relics seemed unwilling to follow the orders of Seo Joo-Heon because they didn't want to go against the commander. But the rope relics happily sided with Seo Joo-Heon. Seo Joo-Heon couldn't do anything when the relics wouldn't listen to him. But a cheer of support came from some relics who were fans of Seo Joo-Heon because they couldn't let Seo Joo-Heon just die before Seo Joo-Heon finished his novel. Hearing the cheers of support from the relics who became his fans, Seo Joo-Heon felt strange. Not only that, a voice that Seo Joo-Heon recognized was even willing to help him. It seemed that the relic Bayan Kang So and his partner were willing to help him. Seo Joo-Heon did not understand why the relic managed to appear when Seo Joo-Heon threw it away several times. Seo Joo-Heon, however, was grateful for the few relics that were willing to help him at this time. Seo Joo-Heon looked at the relics, and Seo Joo-Heon realized that none of the relics had a high tier, and Seo Joo-Heon had a plan that he wanted to try to do with the relics. Seo Joo-Heon then told the relic he would choose to follow him, and asked the rest to fight together with Nero. And for those who did not want to interfere, Seo Joo-Heon told them to leave. Seo Joo-Heon did not listen to their protests and said that it was their fault for not wanting to fight together with him. After asking the selected relics to follow him and giving roles to all the relics who wanted to fight with him, Seo Joo-Heon took some useful relics and went out of the Golden Palace, and because Nero distracted the spider commander, Seo Joo-Heon was able to move undetected to the end of his room. When the relic questioned why they were moving so deep, Seo Joo-Heon said that they would make a surprise attack while Nero was distracted. Because Seo Joo-Heon could not approach through the front, he chose to come to the end of the room to move towards the back and attack his enemy from behind. The relic was surprised to see that Seo Joo-Heon was going to attack the spider commander himself, but Seo Joo-Heon had no intention of attacking the spider commander, and was going to attack the container. Because even though the spider commander was a very powerful relic, it was still a possessive type relic, and that's why Seo Joo-Heon intended to attack Jin Chai-won's body and make it weak. But the problem was that they had to be quick to make the attack before the spider commander turned his gaze towards them again, and Seo Joo-Heon hoped to defeat Jin Chai-won in one attack. Seo Joo-Heon smiled at the relic's agreement and began to execute his plan, and confident that his plan would succeed, Seo Joo-Heon ran towards Jin Chai-won's body, which served as the container of the spider commander's relic. Nero was seen who was in trouble because the relics continued to arrive even though he had burned several times. Meanwhile, the battle between the Spider Commander's army was dealing with Nero and several relics supporting Seo Joo-Heon. But the Spider Commander's attention was distracted by Seo Joo-Heon, who tried to attack the body that served as the Spider Commander's relic container. Seo Joo-Heon slightly regretted that he could not launch an attack on the body of Ch.115, who was still being controlled. The Spider Commander was talking to Seo Joo-Heon, who was trying to weaken himself by attacking Ch.115. And with that, Seo Joo-Heon also told the relic that was with him to attack the body of Ch.115. The Spider Commander seemed to be in trouble because he had to defend the body of Ch.115 while he thought of his soldiers who were fighting in front. But Seo Joo-Heon still wanted to try it instead of him having to fight the huge body of the Spider Commander. Even though Ch.115's body is an ordinary human body, his body is stronger than ordinary humans. And with that, Ch.115 attacked the relic that tried to attack him. The relics were blown away, but Seo Joo-Heon, who saw them desperate, bribed them with the lure of his advanced novel, and with that they all attacked Ch.115 again. The rope relic played an important role in distracting Ch.115, and Seo Joo-Heon waited for the right time for him to attack as he saw Ch.115 slowly being pushed away by the rope relic, and at the right time, the legs of Ch.115 were wrapped around the rope relic. And instantly, Ch.115 lost his balance. Seo Joo-Heon ordered the relic Bai and Kang So and his partner to attack Ch.115. Bai and Kang So opened a portal to suck in Ch.115, but the woman managed to hold herself from being sucked into the portal. Seo Joo-Heon smiled when he saw the use of the power of Bai and Kang So, which could open portals anywhere. Because from the beginning, Seo Joo-Heon had no intention of fighting Ch.115, he was just waiting for the right time until he could use this embassy to trap Ch.115. Seo Joo-Heon ran and he pushed the body of Ch.115 with his own body, making the woman's body now thrown into the portal. And because the body of Ch.115 was sucked in, the Spider Commander soon caught up with Ch.115 because their bodies were intertwined until they both fully entered the portal. Seo Joo-Heon said goodbye to the Spider Commander who was sucked into the portal. The other relics who saw their commander enter the portal could only look on with amusement, and after the big body of the Spider Commander was fully entered into the portal, Seo Joo-Heon asked Bai and Kang So to close the portal door and remove it, because Seo Joo-Heon would take care of the relic monsters and intended to take the relic that was on their bodies. And with that, Seo Joo-Heon moved to start attacking the relic monsters. But before that, Seo Joo-Heon asked Bai and Kang So to close the door again. The relic monsters did not accept when Seo Joo-Heon was going to use them as one of his subordinates. Seo Joo-Heon confirmed the monsters' words and asked them to attack him now, and with that, the battle resumed. Seo Joo-Heon, with the help of Nero and several relics, began to deal with the relic monsters. Meanwhile, outside the building where Seo Joo-Heon was, slowly the tomb that was created there exploded, and all the residents who gathered below became confused because of what happened suddenly. And among the crowd was seen Seo Joo-Heon, who broke through before she finally heard the voice of someone calling out to her. When Seo Joo-Heon went to the source of the voice, she saw that all her friends were outside the building. They were not in the building when the incident took place because they had their own business. Seo Joo-Heon became even more worried when she found out that Seo Joo-Heon was dealing with Ch.115 alone. Instantly, a huge explosion occurred, and thanks to that explosion, the building that Seo Joo-Heon lived in collapsed. Seeing that, Irene and Seo Joo-Heon became very worried about the state of Seo Joo-Heon. They both wanted to enter, but Yoo Ji-ha prevented them because it was not safe for them to enter with the building still collapsing. Yoo Ji-ha also asked them both to believe in Seo Joo-Heon if he would be okay, because Seo Joo-Heon was not a weak person who would die just because of some explosions and collapsing buildings. Yoo Ji-ha was also sure that Seo Joo-Heon would be okay now. The building collapsed and slowly stopped after everything had been destroyed to the ground. Seo-Ah, who didn't feel any energy from the tomb, wanted to believe that Seo Joo-Heon managed to defeat Jin Chai-won. Meanwhile, Oh Seung-woo tried to call Seo Joo-Heon by shouting his name, although Yoo Ji-ha wasn't sure if it would work. But all of Seo Joo-Heon's friends followed him by shouting Seo Joo-Heon's name. Seo-Ah also shouted the name of Seo Joo-Heon and hoped that Seo Joo-Heon was okay and safe. After a while, a silhouette of a man was seen on the ruins of the flattened building, and from the silhouette appeared Seo Joo-Heon, who greeted them all for shouting his name so loudly. Is it all over? What about Jin Chai-won?